The sport of bobsledding got its name when the athletes would bob forward at the start to gain momentum, hence the name bobsledding as we know it today. Over the years, though, the athletes found different ways to project themselves down the track, and now the sport is about athleticism in the first 50 meters. The cohesion of a four-man bobsled start is called choreography on ice. The athletes in the competition come from a diversity of sports backgrounds, but there's one thing we're all noticing. A lot of decathletes and heptathletes come into the sport. The training needed to be a good decathlete or heptathlete from the gym to the sprint track are very similar to what the athletes go through to prepare for the sport of bobsledding. The dry land training in the summertime is so important to build a team effort. We started seeing a lot of decathletes at the 1980 Olympic Games in Lake Placid. Here, Great Britain brought in one of its top decathletes, John Howell, and he talked about the transition from a decathlete to a bobsledder.
Athletes seem to be doing very well because they're basically fast, powerful athletes, and their starts have improved, and consequently the results are improving.
He wasn't the only leading decathlete there. Ronald Beckman of Sweden, he was the 1974 NCAA champion from Brigham Young University. He was on the Sweden #1 sled, and he believes the skills in decathlon are perfect for bobsled.
It's very equal to compete in bobsled and track. You're kind of warming up and stretching, and prepared for this push and the speed to run. It's almost equal to a sprinter, a 100-yard dash. So it's kind of a summer athlete, but it's in the winter time.
So let's flash forward for 35 years. This year's competitions, it's estimated that 20% of the field had decathletes competing. This year's World Championship two-man team of Francisco Friedrich and Torsten Margus, both decathletes, and Friedrich thinks it's a good crossover.
It's very good because decathletes do any sports. They train every part of his body, and so they are very good prepared for bobsledding.
Torsten Margus is the brakeman on that World Championship sled. He scored 7,700 plus points in decathlon. He thinks other decathletes should come forward.
If you're not competing on the highest level in decathlon, maybe it's a good choice to switch to bobsleigh.
So the question begs, how hard is the crossover to bobsledding?
I think it was a pretty easy transition because in decathlon you develop a lot of biomotor abilities that transfer over to bobsled, and coordination is a big component of it.
This year's 2014 World Cup two-man champion Oscar Melbardis, also a decathlete. He thinks that training for both is the same.
Yeah, I think it's so many trainings and so many things in decathlon and also in bobsleigh. You need run, you need think about track. It's something close.
So for 40 years, decathletes have been coming into the sport of bobsledding. And this year's world champion Francisco Friedrich, he thinks more decathletes should cross over.
If you don't have a chance to be the best in your country, so you try maybe bobsledding.